Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or back to my channel. This video is going to be in two parts because we're going to talk about the show Pretty Little Liars.
One of them is dead.
Now before we get into the drama, the unseriousness, the fuckery that was Pretty Little Liars, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, of course. It was a really good time on there. Now, Pretty Little Liars was a show that basically is one of those forms of entertainment that came from a book, Pretty Little Liars, by the author Sarah Shepard. I remember reading 3 of the books, and there are slight changes if you read the books as well. And the show debuted on ABC Family / Freeform back in the year 2010, and it revolved around the lives of Aria, Emily, Spencer, and Hannah, all dealing with the aftermath of their best friend Allison disappearing and unfortunate unaliving. Now, before getting into the drama that was all of season 1, basically we're gonna get into a little bit of the backstory of the girls and their friendship with Allison. Now, it is shown in the first episode that the girls had a best friend named Allison, who was the popular pretty girl that every girl wanted to be and every guy wanted to date. The girls had a sleepover celebrating the last few days of summer until school starts back up again. But in the middle of the night, Spencer wakes up to discover that Allison had disappeared and revealed that she thinks she might have heard her scream. We flash forward to a year later, and the girls are no longer as close as they used to be. Allison is shown to be the glue that held the group together. So they're all like spread apart. So we have Aria, who just came back from a European trip with her parents, Ella and Byron, and her younger brother, Mike. We have Hannah, who has now basically transformed into the popular pretty girl that Allison was. She has a best friend named Mona, and the two have a bad habit of having sticky fingers. Spencer is the book smart. She knows everything. She has Yale on her resume. She is the top dog. She's in all the clubs. She knows everything about history, all that good stuff. Kidding, not kidding. She has an older sister named Melissa, who's engaged to a guy named Ren, who's going to be a doctor. That is very important. And their parents, who are both lawyers, Peter and Veronica. Next up, we have Emily. Emily is a star athlete. She is a pro swimmer. Well, as pro as you can be in high school, obviously. She has a boyfriend named Ben, who we don't see much of towards the end of season 1. She has her parents, Pam and Wayne. Now, her dad, Wayne, is part of the army, so we don't really see him as much in the show. And unfortunately, in season 6, he passed away. Hannah's mom is Ashley. She works at a bank, and she is raising Hannah on her own after Hannah's dad walked out on her and basically got in a relationship with a girl named Isabel, who he later on proposed / married. Now, Isabel has a daughter named Kate, who eventually transfers to Rosewood High and tries to sabotage Hannah in a way. Big mess. Now, in the first episode, we see a girl named Maya move into the old house that Allison once lived in. So Allie, and along with her family, her mom consists of Jessica and her older brother Jason, all moved out of the house, obviously, because with Allison not only being popular and pretty, she was also very young when she disappeared. So there's a lot of media attention on the film. So they just moved out for a little bit. Maya is the new tenant in the house, and Maya discovers a bunch of items that belong to Allie, and Emily decides to basically take care of them. Maya, not knowing who Allie was and how much she meant to Emily and the rest of her friends, they basically have a big friendship, which leads into a relationship, which starts off with that first controversy of the show being Emily's first girlfriend being shipped away. So Emily, in the beginning of the show, was dating a guy named Ben, but after attempting to assault her on school property, Emily discovers that she's not attracted to men, but she's solely attracted to girls, coming out, getting in a ship with Maya. But Emily's mom, Pam, didn't approve of this new sexuality that her daughter has discovered of herself. So she does everything in her power to separate both Maya and Emily. And while snooping around at Maya's belongings, she found a certain roll in her backpack, if you know what I mean, which eventually leads to Maya being shipped off to a camp called True North. She doesn't come back, unfortunately, until season 2, but we move on to the second controversy of the show, which is Melissa's fiance chasing after Spencer, even though she was a minor. So like I said, Melissa was engaged to a guy named Ren. Ren at one point made a move on Spencer, and they end up kissing, and the witness to this kissing was Melissa. Now, Melissa obviously gets very upset because your fiance cheating on you in itself is very disappointing, but your fiance cheating on you with your sister is a whole nother type of betrayal. But in my opinion, she should have, like, I don't know, like, it was just so weird because she was so angry and lashed out at Spencer. There's even a point where, like, she aggressively threw out a bunch of, like, Bride magazines and, like, did it in front of Spencer. And their mom is like, come on, Spencer, like your sister's going through it. Ren is a PDF file, more on that, but like I digress. Then we have the situation with Arya and Ezra. So upon coming back to Rosewood from her trip, Arya crawls into a bar and meets a guy named Ezra. They end up making out, and later on it is revealed he is the teacher of Arya and her friends, but they continue this relationship. Even there's this one scene where basically they have like this big confrontation of like what the relationship is going to be, and Arya is like, I just can't look at you and call you Mr. Fitz, when it's like, you can just leave the situation what it is and what happened and just like see each other when you become a legal adult. But like, I digress. He, in my opinion, did not put his foot down hard enough. They end up dating on and off throughout the entire series, even when she becomes an adult. Like, ugh. Anyways, then we have the Jenna thing. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, but in the season 1, episode 1 ending, it was revealed that Ali was unfortunately unalive, and she had a funeral. And there is a girl named Jenna who the girls are surprised that Jenna even came to the funeral of Allison, because it is shown in a flashback that the girls, along with Ali, accidentally blinded Jenna because Jenna had a stepbrother named Toby, who is a big character in the show. Allison thought that at one point Toby was stalking and recording the girls, so to get him back, they throw in a stink bomb, but Jenna was in the garage that the stink bomb was run into, and it ended up blinding her, which is called the Jenna thing. Now, the girls never confessed to Jenna that they are the reason why she cannot see anymore. They just keep it to themselves. And that leads us into Ben trying to assault Emily on school property. Now, I shortly mentioned this during the whole Maya thing, but basically the person to kind of rescue Emily was Toby. Now, Toby was kind of like a scary person to the girls. They were very scared of him because they thought that he had something to do with Allison's disappearance and unaliving. But this leads into the two not only being lab partners, but having like a budding friendship. Even this one point where basically they bonded over this band, and Toby burned a CD. Got him burning CDs. Basically, he burned a CD of the band that him and Emily liked, but Emily, trying to hide the friendship between Toby and her by the girls, she just ditches him and tries to keep the worlds apart, where she's friends with Toby and then she's friends with the girls. But both worlds collide when at homecoming, Toby and Emily go to the dance together. And basically, Toby leads her into his classroom and tries to tell her what really happened the day that Ellie disappeared, because there's a tattoo on his hip that says 901, free at last. Now, 901, or September 1st, is the day that Allison disappeared and is presumed to be unalive. So he scares Emily to the point where she gets injured. I'm pretty sure she fell. I think she fell. She gets injured. And Toby, instead of like helping her into the hospital, he just dropped her off. And he runs away, even to the point where like the police come knocking on Emily's parents' door. And her mom is like, she went to homecoming with who? Okay. Hannah crashing her boyfriend's car because he wouldn't sleep with her. Now, Hannah in the beginning of season 1 was dating a guy named Sean, and Sean was practicing a thing called abstinence. You don't know what abstinence is. It's basically like the act of not having intercourse until you got a ring on the finger, if you know what I mean. But Hannah, at one point, they were at a party, and she basically was trying to fill him. I didn't even notice this until like I started like doing research. She basically like tried to like SA him. And he was like, Hannah, like, this is not me, you know what I mean? So Hannah, being upset, she decides to take his keys, drive his car, and eventually ends up crashing it. And as prostitution, she has to work in the dental office that his mom works at. And doing this, so she tries to get the files of both Jenna and Toby to try to uncover some truth about their connection with Allison, and if they really have something to do with her disappearance and unaliving. Then we have Paige attempting to drown Emily, prepping like, who the hell is Paige? So Paige was on the swim team along with Emily, and after Emily came out, Paige made some kind of stupid ass remark about Emily's sexuality. And when Emily told Spencer showed the coach, and the coach confronted Paige, and while practicing, Paige attempted to drown Emily and then came out the closet and then ended up dating Emily. Like, okay. Anyways, in the mid-season 1 finale, Mona has a big birthday party. Now, Mona is very much go big or go home. That was just like her demeanor. She, you know, she was the it girl. She was the it girl that Ali once was. But basically, after feeling like her and Hannah weren't as close as they once were, she disinvites Hannah to her birthday party, but Hannah's like, I'm still gonna be there. Like, I'm still gonna keep an eye out for Selena because A is going to be there. But unfortunately, Hannah gets ran over by a car and gets severely injured. And while in the hospital, this A person who's been targeting the girls since Allie's, oh, actually, the girls get a text from A during Allie's funeral, but it's shown beforehand that they were getting targeted by A individually. But this A visited Hannah in the hospital and even like wrote on her cast. So Hannah, of course, gets very scared because she's like, I'm already getting texts and emails from this A, but this person was in my hospital room. Like, get out of here. Then we have the big showdown in the season 1 finale between Spencer and Melissa's new husband slash baby daddy, Ian. Now, Ian is the ex of Melissa, but after the situation with Ren, she rebounds with Ian and they end up getting married and also pregnant. Now, Ian at this point is the main suspect because it is shown that him and Allison had some sort of relationship, which again is really creepy because Allie was like barely a teenager and Ian is obviously like older, like it's probably like my age, like 26, which is like, ew. The men of Rosewood needed jail time and just needed to prove themselves that they were a rightful citizen of the town, because what the hell. But I digress. Basically, Ian attempted to unalive Spencer to not only protect Melissa, but to cover up for the relationship that he had with Allie. And basically, in an attempt to unalive Spencer, he basically comes up with like this line of like, Spencer was too rough with Allie and she was the reason why Allie was unalived. But eventually, Ian himself got unalived by a person in a black hoodie. I forgot to mention Detective Officer Darren Wilden. Now, Darren Wilden was someone who was on the case of Allison Laurentiis and also someone who arrested Hannah after the discovery that she was shoplifting. But Hannah's mom, Ashley, tried to keep Hannah's record clean by having an on-again, off-again relationship with Detective Wilden. But Detective Wilden was also someone who tried to target and harass the girls without a lawyer. There's even the one point in the in season 1 where there was a big hurricane, but everyone was at the school because they're taking exams. And basically, Darren targeted Emily because there was a memorial for Allie that seemed to be destroyed, and Wilden thought it was Emily because he discovered that Emily had written some kind of angry letters towards Allison, because Emily was attracted to Allison, but Allison was attracted to boys. And there was even a scene in the flashback where there was a big conversation because Emily kissed Allison, but Allison was like, you're just practice, like, get out of here, silly. Also during this hurricane, or was it a hurricane or a tornado? It might have been a tornado. The tornadoes really happen on the East Coast though, but I digress. Basically, Ezra and Arya are off, and Ezra was off. I think he was in like New York. He wasn't in Rosewood basically. And Arya began a relationship with a guy named Noah Khan. And there is a scene where Arya and Noah are about to kiss, but Ezra comes in and stops them before they can. And the look on Ezra's face looks like he's trying to like figure out ways to unalive Noel. Like, sir, you're old enough to the point where like if you get a car, you don't have to pay much for insurance because you're over the age to like not qualify for young renter's insurance. Get out of here. Now, season 2, we enter in with the aftermath of the whole church showdown. And basically, the girls are looked at as liars because when the police tried to recover the body of Ian, there was no body to recover. But it is shown later on that Ian committed suicide and left a note explaining what happened. But the girls discovered that the note was not curated by Ian, but instead curated by A. What the hell? Literally. Then we have Mike's felon era. Now, like I said, Mike is the younger brother of Arya, and he just decided to pick up a hobby of breaking into people's houses. He broke into Jason's house, who again is the older brother of Allison. He broke into Spencer's house, Emily's house. He attacked Arya. Like, draw, color, write. I think he was also like playing a sport at this point. Like, how do you have, first of all, high school is draining in itself. Okay, I do not miss high school at all. Okay, high school is draining. Then you're on a sport, which I feel like, if I remember correctly, like you go to practice like right after school. Practice goes on for hours. Then you have to do homework. How do you have time and energy to break into people's houses? But I digress. Then we have a drugging / poisoning Emily. Now, Emily at this point was taking some kind of cream because she had think she said she like suffered an injury from swimming because, you know, you may be in water, but like you could still suffer when you're swimming if like you didn't know that. But upon taking this cream, it ends up injuring Emily even more. She ends up in the hospital. Ren, being now a certified doctor, discovers that there are human growth hormones in Emily's blood. Now Emily is like, I wasn't, that's not me. That's not in my DNA. Like, it's in my DNA, but it's not in my DNA. And guess who put the growth hormones in the cream? Fucking A. This girl has too much time in her hands. Then we have a house fire. Basically, Jason is permanently back in Rosewood, and Jenna got a text to go into the house, and unfortunately the house caught on fire with Jenna in it, and it felt like there was a setup to get rid of Jenna. Jenna still at this point is an ops with the girls, but the girls are slowly starting to feel sorry for her, but not too sorry for her. If you know what I mean. We start to get little details of what happened the night that Allison disappeared, and we discovered that this little girl was on a roll tour. We find out the full details in season 4, but my God, this girl and that yellow tank top went out more times in one night than I've gone out my 20 years of living. But I digress. Then we have the return of Maya. Now Maya is back from True North and appears to be sober. But unfortunately, Emily discovers that Maya, you know, she keeps a roll on her, if you know what I mean. And Maya is like, I'm not going back to True North. Like, you could hang that the fuck up. But she tries to run away from home. But unfortunately, before she can even leave Rosewood, she is unalive and again buried in the De Laurentiis house. And in the season 2 finale, we discovered that A is Mona. Mona, like I said, is the new best friend of Hannah. And in order to get like revenge on Allie, because Mona was a target to Allison was the popular pilgrim. She's also like a big ass bully. She bullied Hannah, calling her hefty Hannah. She bullied Mona, loser Mona. She bullied this guy named Lucas, calling him a, what is it? A hermaphrodite. Like, Allie wasn't the best person. Like, did she deserve to get unalive at such a young age? No, she deserved to grow, but like, more on that later. So yeah, Mona is A, and Spencer is the one to basically find that out. Mona tries to either include Spencer into the A team or make her disappear, if you know what I mean. Then we go on to season 3, where no one puts Ezra in jail. Her friends at this point are aware that Allie and Ezra are a thing. I'm pretty sure at this point her parents are aware, or it's discovered in this season. Arya meets Ezra's mom, who also knows about the relationship and her age. Then it's discovered that Ezra fathered a child with the girl he was dating in high school, but his mom paid her off. And even she knows about Arya's age. And also we discovered that Mr. Fitz is not just a Fitz, he's a Fitzgerald, making him a Nepo baby. Still no one puts this man in jail. Then we have Ren making a move on Hannah. So at this point, Ren is a doctor at the hospital named Bradley, where Mona is institutionalized. And basically, Ren delivers the news to Hannah, because Hannah, of course, is the best friend of Mona, and she still tries to visit her and discover like why Mona was targeting her, because like she's like, I thought we were friends, and da-da-da. Ren breaks the news to Hannah that the board is trying to move Mona out of Rosewood. Hannah pleads with him to make sure that the board keeps her best friend close to her. And upon victory, Hannah kisses Ren, and Ren continues to like think that that kiss meant something, so he continues to like try to make a move on Hannah. Like, what? The season 3 premiere basically opened up with the girls having another sleepover. They reunite after a big summer, and Emily is still grieving over the death over her first official girlfriend. And upon this night, it is discovered that Emily was not only drugged, but also drunk. And she ended up at the gravesite of Allison, with the gravesite appearing to be dug up. Like, where is the break? I don't know what it is anymore. Like, oh my God. But basically, it's discovered that the girl is not the one to dig up the grave, but they do discover that Jenna Marshall, who was apparently blind, got her eyesight back, and when confronted of why she didn't reveal that she was able to see again, Jenna basically says that she's been targeted and she didn't want to become a bigger target. Then in season 3, we meet a girl named Cece Drake. Now, Cece Drake was the friend of Allison, and the girls basically meet her because they were at this cafe called, I won't say it was The Brew. It was The Brew because obviously you brew coffee, whatever. And the girls hear her voice. Basically, Cece is a splitting image of Allie. Both blonde, both pretty, both know how to sway their way and get whatever they want. And Cece meets the girls and she's like, oh my God, you're friends with Allie. And she starts a friendship with them, even to the point where she tries to help Spencer get into a certain college. Now, Cece is a little bit older. I want to say she's like in her early 20s, but she still knows Allie, the girls. There's this one part where she knew Noah Khan, who is the popular boy. She knew his older brother. And there was a point where they went to a party and Cece was the one to kind of be like the social butterfly. But more on Cece later. We have Nate. Nate appeared to be the cousin of Maya. He comes to Rosewood to try to meet and have a friendship with Emily, aka the girl that his cousin could not stop talking about. But later on discovered that Nate is not Nate, but a guy named Lyndon, who was someone that met Maya at camp. Now, him and Maya did have some kind of fling, but Lyndon fell more in love with Maya, but Maya was in love with Emily, so Lyndon unalived her. And to get revenge, Lyndon tried to unalive Paige, who is the now girlfriend of Emily herself, and also Caleb, because Caleb went to rescue Emily and Paige, but he ended up getting the, how do I say this? He got the Abraham Lincoln treatment. That's fucked up, but okay. Then we have Arya's that Byron being revealed to be one of the people that Ellie was blackmailing and someone that saw Ellie the night she disappeared. So basically in season 1, it is discovered that Byron had a secret rendezvous with a student named Meredith, and Allie and Arya were the 2 people to witness it. And Arya had to keep the secret from her mom, but A was the one to reveal to Ella about Byron's infidelity. The parents are now split up, and Meredith gets a job at Rosewood High, which is the high school that not only Arya attends, but Ella teaches at. And basically with the stress of not only Meredith becoming a teacher at her school, but her dad being someone who saw her best friend before she was unalive, Arya gets really stressed out and unfortunately very, very sick. And Meredith is the person to kind of try to nurse Arya back to health. But both Spencer and Emily discover that Meredith is doing the complete opposite and attempting to drug Arya. And when trying to rescue Arya, the girls get locked into a basement, and it is discovered that Meredith, she had some issues of her own, and she was trying to also try to figure out what Byron had to do with Allison. So season 4 opens up with the body of Detective Wilden being discovered as unalive. Now, unfortunately, Ashley and Wilden had a very on and off relationship, and Ashley is the prime suspect, but not only the Rosewood Police Department, but also Hannah. Hannah also discovers that her mom didn't leave Rosewood or on the time that she said that she did. There's also like a gun. Hannah tried to bury the gun. She got arrested. Ashley got arrested. But she is cleared off of the suspect list. But Wilden's out the picture, basically. That's all you need to know. We then discover that Mona and Mike have a relationship. Now, Mona at this point is out of Bradley and she's back into society with Rosewood High. And she decides to get in a relationship with Mike. Now, Mike, I don't think we ever realize how much younger he is than Arya. I want to say he's like 2 years younger because they're in the same high school. You know? But of course, Arya disapproving of anything that Mona has to do. She disapproves of Mona and Mike. She's basically like, why are you two together? Like, you guys have nothing in common. She's an op. Get away from her. We also discover that Mona and Mike are in a relationship. Now, Arya, of course, being very afraid of Mona. She doesn't think that it is a good match because obviously what Mona has put her and her friends through the past few years, it's not a good look. We have Allie's diary. Now, Allie used to write in code. She kept everybody's secrets but her own. And all the girls tried to discover who Allie is talking about. And through the code, Spencer discovers that Hannah also had a secret rendezvous with Mike, and with her expecting Arya to be upset. Arya's basically like, he probably wanted it more than you. Don't worry about it. Spencer unfortunately goes back into a drug spiral. Now, it is shown in flashbacks that on the night that Allie disappeared, Spencer had a very bad pill problem and Allie was the one to discover it. And in order to keep up with her exams and find out the true context of her diary, Spencer goes back down the drug spiral and she discovers that the person that is behind the codename Board Shorts is actually Ezra. Ezra Fitz having another relationship with another teenager. Where are the handcuffs when you need them? Like, what the hell? Basically, Spencer tells both Emily and Hannah, and they try to keep it a secret from Aria. And when confronted with the news, Aria basically says, hey, I don't know how to believe you because Ezra saw you sleeping at school wearing fucking gym shorts. So I don't know who to believe. I don't know what to believe. But later on, Aria discovers that Ezra was working on a book talking about relationship with Allie and trying to figure out who is the one to unfortunately unalive Allie. But we don't have to do that mystery anymore because Allie is alive. Allie is alive. Allison is alive, but she cannot come back to Roseville because someone has been targeting her, and that is the reason why she disappeared off the map. She had the help with a friend named Shauna and with a godmother named Mrs. Grunwald, who she constantly called before she disappeared. Then we have a car. This is not funny. A car went through the house of Emily. Now, at this point, Emily and her parents were having some kind of issues because Emily was going through her mom's medicine cabinet. There was a confrontation with her mom and her outside of school. CPS got involved. The police got involved. And to add cherry on top of this motherfucking delicious cake, a car went through their house and Emily had to stay with Jessica. Jessica, like I said, is the mom of Allie. They moved back into their old house and Emily tries to avoid going into the house as much as possible, but she's like, I don't have a bed. I don't really have a choice. Now, the end of season 4, the girls meet up with Allie in the old Fitch Theater in New York, and Allie tells them the full thing that happened when she disappeared and who she met up with and what really happened. Now, how she ended up in the plot hole, basically, she was coming home and someone hit her in the head and her mom was the witness to it. Now, instead of her mom calling the police or trying to help her daughter, she unfortunately buried her daughter alive while saying the words, what did you do? What did you do? And unfortunately, Shauna and Ezra meet up with the girls in New York. Shauna tries to give Allie, again, the Abraham Lincoln effect, but Ezra is unfortunately the victim of it. And Jessica ends up getting buried herself, but she's unfortunately not alive. Season 5 opens up with the girls trying to make sure that Ezra pulls through after getting the Abraham Lincoln effect, and Aria dealing with the PTSD of taking Shauna's life. Now, it was accidental, it was in self-defense, but Aria doesn't see it that way. She sees it as like, hey, I am never going to recover from this because Shauna's family is not going to recover from this. They're not going to be able to see her graduate, you know, etc., etc. When the girls come back from New York, Allie walks into the police department and says, hey, are her job and looking for me? I've been kidnapped. She's back in her queen bee. Whatever she says goes with the girls. But the girls are very confused because they're like, when did we say to come up with the story that you've been kidnapped? And even the police are not falling for Allie's lies. They keep trying to dig into her story, being like, how did you leave? How did your friends find you? There's a lot of plot holes in Allie's story. Then we have the affair with Talia and Emily. Now at this point, Ezra owns the brew. He is the manager, and Emily works. She's been working at this place since season 2, very, very early on. And basically to help with the party, Ezra hires someone named Talia as extra assistants. Now at first, Emily is very resistant because she is the one that wants to prove herself to Ezra, but she decides to give in to Talia. Talia is attracted to Emily and they have a little bit of a fling, but then Ezra reveals to Emily that Talia is married, and even her husband confronts Emily and says, you're nothing but a fling, basically. Then we have the alcoholic era of both Caleb and Hannah. Now, Hannah at this point doesn't know how to deal with her best friend being back, and with her being back in her popular queen bee status. There's even a situation where a guy thinks that Hannah is Allie, and Allie basically makes a comment that was like, it used to be a lot easier to tell us apart with Hannah being a little bit heavier. and now she's not. Hannah decides to add like black streaks into her hair, but she still doesn't know how to cope with her best friend being back. So her and Caleb both enter into really bad alcoholism. Hannah recovers a lot faster than Caleb. It takes a little bit more of a push for Caleb, but they don't go to rehab. They don't get the Maya treatment, like being sent away, but they are main characters, so like they can't be sent away. Although Caleb, there are spin-offs of Pretty Little Liars, one called Ravenswood, which was a town away from Rosewood. So he was away for a little bit, but he came back. The reason why he fell into alcoholism was because of what he saw in Ravenswood. Now, Ravenswood is shown a little bit in season 4 before the girls discover that Allie is alive. And it's just like a very creepy town. Like, he sees a grave of his own. There's also a girl named Miranda that he meets on a bus. She has a grave. It was just a really weird situation. I never watched the show, but if you watch Ravenswood, what the fuck happened? But I digress. Then we have the attack of Mona and her presumed unaliving. Now, basically, the girls don't know how to trust Allison. They don't know how to continue being friends with the girl who doesn't know how to stop lying. And basically, Mona discovers that Allison may be behind A, but before she could tell the girls the true context, she is unfortunately attacked on Thanksgiving. And with the amount of red coloring, if you will, the police discovered that Mona did not survive. But towards the end of season 5, on trial, Allie is arrested as a main suspect of Mona's unaliving, and the girls are named accessories to the unaliving. And while being transported to the jailhouse, the van gets hijacked by A, and the girls get transported not to jail but to a dollhouse. And there's a person cosplaying as Allison, which is revealed to be Mona. Mona is alive, and she is forced to cosplay as Allison. And the girls discover that A may be somebody named Charles De Laurentiis, who is revealed to be a sibling. Can I talk today? Sibling of the Allison. And that is the end of this video. I am like on season 7, but there are so many notes for season 6 that there's no way that they can fit into this video. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and look forward to part 2. I am now on season 7, episode like 5, I think. So part 2 will be coming very, very soon. But until next time, stay strong, stay safe, YOLO, and I will see you in the next one.